9:46.
Okay, I'm going to let everybody in. Welcome, everybody. This is Justin Stone Diaz. We want to welcome you on this auspicious Father's Day. We will be recording this, so everybody who signed up on the Teachable course pages will have access to the replays. But we're also trying to simulcast on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So if you're on those platforms, please feel free to check us out there. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my dear friend Tenzin Metok.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Medicine Buddha Anywhere series. This is an idea born from Justin at Tibet House Menla. So thank you, Justin, for the birth of this idea and hosting and continuously working to help us promote and finesse this series. You've shared that you got this idea to make medicine, Tibetan medicine, available freely for those who can't just log in today. This is still being simulcast and live streamed, so you can always use this as a resource. Today's webinar, the fourth in our series of Medicine Buddha Anywhere, is on men's health and well-being. And we're very honored and very grateful to have Dr. Nyima from Kathmandu. It's 9:45 p.m. in the evening in Kathmandu, Nepal. So thank you so much for making time at this hour. It's 5 o'clock here in London and 12 noon in New York. Welcome, everyone, and welcome especially on Father's Day. We'll be using the next hour and a half to 2 hours, firstly to introduce ourselves with Dr. Nyima's medical background, medical and clinical background. Secondly, I'll explain what is Tibetan medicine and healing, which is called Sowa Rigpa in Tibetan. Dr. Nyima will then elaborate on Tibetan medicine and 5 men or male-specific conditions as per the 4 Tibetan treatises. He will also go in depth in terms of the symptoms of each of these 5 male-specific conditions. And then he will also do a general common causes of male genital disorders and the way that they diagnose. We also wanted to highlight of these prostrate issues because of how common they are, and especially for issues for men aged 50 and over. We wanted to highlight some of the social and physiological issues that are related to medical conditions. And Dr. Nyima is on hand to also give lifestyle, dietary, and external therapy recommendations for some of the conditions that he's elaborated before. And we'll finally end with a very unique opportunity to have a live Q&A question session with Dr. Nyima. If you have a burning question you wanted to always ask a Tibetan medicine doctor, this is the opportunity. I would say this is a great forum to ask general well-being and health questions. If you do have a very specific question for your condition, it's best to actually have a personal, private medical consultation with Dr. Nyima or any of the doctors on the Medicine Buddha app. Or if you see a Tibetan medicine doctor live in wherever location you are, it's best to go in person to get a holistic view of the patient. But where you don't have access or the opportunity, or you are a vulnerable individual, please do use our Medicine Buddha app to get your own personalized consultation with the Tibetan medicine doctor. With that, I'd love Dr. Nyima to please introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background and your interests. Thank you.
Okay, hello, Dashi. So to begin with, I would like to say Happy Father's Day. My name is Nyima Tsering. I'm based in Kathmandu, Nepal. So I studied Tibetan medicine from India, from Menzekan Tibetan Medical and Astro Institute, established by His Holiness the Dalai Lama in 1961. And after that, I studied the Buddhist philosophy for 3 years from Buddhist Dialectic School, that also in Dharamsala. And then I have been practicing in Kathmandu. So it's been like more like the last 10 years that I've been practicing here. And also I'm the co-founder of Sowa Rigpa International College, the college that we established for the preservation and promotion of this unique traditional Tibetan medicine. And this college is affiliated with the Lumbini Buddhist University. So it's like a full-fledged center for studying the Tibetan medicine. So it's a great pleasure and privilege to be part of this webinar. So thank you.
So I'd like to graduated, which is the it's a course that's almost 5 years long, plus 1 year of research even before you clinical practice.
Tenzin, we're losing your signal. I'm going to turn your camera off so you're just audio only. That way you'll get a better signal. There you go. Can you try again? Your signal was breaking up for a second there.
Thank you. I think it's just intermittent, Justin. I apologize for that. I'll leave my cell phone further away, actually, if that's affecting. So just a few points about Dr. Nyima, who is just so brilliant. He has graduated in Tibetan medicine from the Tibetan Medical and Astroscience Institute in Dharamsala, Menzikang. That's actually the premier college for Tibetan medicine. It involves a 5-year course work plus 1 year of clinical residency. So you already come with lots of clinical expertise before you begin your clinical practice, and that you actually teach and impart Tibetan medicine to the next generation as a principal at the Sowa Rigpa International College, and that you're also a father. So I wanted to spotlight that on Father's Day. So thank you for making time on top of all your busy activities and childcare duties to make the time to Zoom in for this. We're really grateful. About myself, I'm not a Tibetan medicine doctor. Experience of in finding insomnia, and there are people who are open to Tibetan who just have not heard medicine and lacking access to Tibetan medicine. I just thought somebody should be able to make an video with the medicine doctor, and you can.
Tenzin, we're going to turn off the doctor's camera. That might improve your connection. Can you try again? We missed that first part of what you were speaking.
Is this okay? Is it better? So I'm not a Tibetan medicine doctor, but I'm a founder of an app called Medicine Buddha, which connects you to video consultations with Tibetan medicine doctors. And we also dispatch any recommended supplements or herbal products after your video consultation with a Tibetan doctor. And together we've collaborated with Tibet House USA and Menla on this series, Medicine Buddha Anywhere, and this one in particular on male specific conditions. And we've brought in a male Tibetan medicine doctor like Dr. Nyima to give share his clinical expertise and his own from a perspective of a male doctor. With that in mind, I do want to ask everyone to use this talk as an educational source, and take what you can out of this. It's not meant to be prescriptive, but do seek professional help and a personalized plan if you should have any of the conditions that we mentioned here on the webinar. This is a very general talk about male specific conditions, and perhaps in addition to whatever treatment you may be having, this might just complement your knowledge on your condition. Although it's specific on male specific conditions, for those born biologically male, actually quite a lot of these topics are about self-care, which actually is good for is relevant for anyone, regardless of what gender you identify with. Tibetan medicine texts actually have specific chapters for those born biologically female, those born biologically male, and those born intersex or other genders. but this one is just on those born biologically male. So as a general foundation on what is Tibetan medicine and healing, it's called Sowa Rigpa, which is the science of healing. It's a 2,500-year-old system of healing, which really combines a lot of the traditional healing already in India, in China, and the traditional Tibetan plant medicine system that they already had. In many ways, a lot of people are attracted to Tibetan medicine who are already interested or practicing Ayurveda, Indian Ayurveda, or traditional Chinese medicine. And my goal of all those working at Medicine Buddha app is that, Tibetan medicine should be, one of the complementary and alternative medical therapies that people consider. And we've got Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine as a real precedent. Tibetan medicine is already practiced by half the world's population. India, a lot of people have said Indian
We're losing you again, Tenzin. One thing, there might be someone in the house also sharing the same Wi-Fi connection. You might ask them to pause on using the internet while you're doing your presentation.
Okay. Second.
Thanks, everybody. It's usually a young child or a teenager streaming games online in the house. It happens to our dear leader, Dr. Nyima Tsering. So Tenzin Metok will be right back after she sees if anyone in the house is using the same Wi-Fi connection. We will be taking questions later to all the people on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We'd like to welcome you and encourage you to post your questions in the chats on those platforms, and then we'll be able to share those questions in the Zoom chat. Welcome back, Tenzin Metok. Oh, I got ahead of myself. But thank you all for the patience as we iron out these Father's Day obstacles.
Thank you. Hi, Justin. Is this any better?
It is better. Thank you.
Thank you. It might just be because my phone was quite close by. I've actually put it outside my room.
Yeah, you're actually back in the white, so your connection is solid. Thank you for being patient with us, Tenzin, as we ironed out those issues.
Thank you. Do you want me to continue with video off or?
Yeah, continue with the video off. Let's not risk using up that valuable bandwidth.
Sure. Thank you. I'm not sure how much has been missed, but just the main point being that Tibetan medicine is already practiced and celebrated in half the world population in Tibet, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Russia, China, Mongolia, but it's relatively unknown here in the West. But I think with the pandemic, with more people interested and passionate about wellness, I think this is a growing field. And there's so much in Tibetan medicine that can really help. Spoke about medicine is medicine. So this time of medicine is really medicine for stress.
Yeah, we're losing you again, Tenzin La.
So sorry, I'm not sure what is today.
It might be someone using a television or a device somewhere else in the house, possibly. Usually, if someone else is streaming video, usually kids or fathers watching sports.
Is being watching 3 children downstairs whilst I do this webinar on Father's Day. I've gone downstairs. Is it any better now, or is it?
It's better now. It's much better now. You're crystal clear audio.
I think it's intermittent. I'm so sorry. I don't know how else to keep this, but wherever I lose, please, Justin, interject.
I will gently, I promise.
Thank you. I'm so sorry in advance. We've never had this happen in our Medicine Buddha Anywhere series, and I will do my best. Consultation with Tibetan medicine doctors will involve pulse analysis, urine analysis, observing the tongue, and then, generally speaking to the patient. And that's really good for chronic conditions. After speaking to a Tibetan medicine doctor and doing a lifestyle review, he or she will make recommendations on dietary, lifestyle, and external therapy recommendations such as acupuncture, moxibustion, and cupping. In Tibetan medicine, I've spoken before, how do they diagnose? Firstly, it's visual. So they will observe how the patient appears, how they walk, and secondly, by touch. I've spoken earlier about the pulse analysis, pulse reading that's shared with traditional Chinese medicine, and it's seen as one of the ways they diagnose. And finally, interrogation is just taking questions, asking for the family history, current conditions, and really trying to find out the root cause of many of the issues. And this is what I love about Tibetan medicine, and which I found, in my personal opinion, very effective for treating chronic conditions, such as my son's eczema, is really talking about doing a lifestyle review in terms of what food he ate and cutting out those foods that are actually making his eczema worse. And I find actually that's so refreshing about Tibetan medicine, in doing such a thorough lifestyle review that really helps in cutting out things that are toxic and affecting somebody's health and well-being, and also going to the root cause of any condition. So with my son's eczema, I felt it was related to his allergies, and really working on his allergies and gut health helped clear his eczema. So this is what Tibetan medicine does. Very effective for chronic conditions, very effective for mental issues, which are a symptom and a condition in itself, with many of the issues that we face in modern day life. In the past, Tibetan medicine I've spoken is so ancient, 2,500 years old, but we've got a picture of one of the Tibetan medicine centers in Tibet, and what His Holiness the Dalai Lama has done in India in 1961 is re-establish Menzikan, which has actually become very, very successful. They've got over 50 branches all over India, which treat patients, both Indians and international patients that actually fly in because they want to speak to a Tibetan medicine doctor. One of the most famous one, Dr. Yishi Gundin, passed away recently, but he was a chief physician to His Holiness. And also there's so many credible stories of how he's actually helped alleviate and treated so many patients. And finally, Biomedicine Buddha app is taking the Tibetan medicine and that ancient healing and making it global, accessible to anyone who has a smartphone, who can connect to a video consultation with a Tibetan medicine doctor. And we're doing this really with the aim that, actually everyone should benefit from Tibetan medicine, not just Tibetans. And it's a way for Tibetans to look outward and have an impact on the globe and reach and touch more international people. With the level of excellence, we're trying to elevate the standards in Tibetan medicine, standardization, but also offer that opportunity to speak to a global audience. Will upskill the Tibetan medicine doctors, and hopefully the long-term vision is also it being a real career choice for young Tibetans, that they continue with the roots of Tibetan medicine, and that we're able to really, even if we're such a small group of people, we're able to have such a big impact. Dr. Nyima will briefly explain the base of Tibetan medicine in terms of diagnosing people in terms of 3 different personalities and a combination of these personalities.
Okay, so in Tibetan medicine, so basically when we talk about the Tibetan medicine, so we basically, the main focus of the Tibetan medicine is to deal about the two aspects of the life. That is to maintain the equilibrium of the health, that is we consider as a healthy state. So in order to prevent the disease, so this talks more on the prevention measures. So that is the first focus. And the second is to deal about the problems. So once we have the problems, so-called as a disease, so in order to deal about all these different types of disease, so we have so many different types of treatment measures. So as far as the healthy body is concerned, in Tibetan medicine regards the function of our internal organs empirically and metaphysically. So the function ascribed to the organs do not really correspond to the modern findings, but nevertheless are part of a coherent and effective system of clinical reasoning that encompasses theory, observation, and treatment. So in our internal organs are basically mentioned as a metaphor and the functions according to the physiology of the traditional medicine. The heart is responsible for the circulation of the wind energy. So we basically talk about the three basic vital energies. So the heart is responsible for circulation of the wind, that is so-called as a lung, and the blood. Likewise, the 5 posterior loops of the lungs are the kings, that is closer to the ministers. And then the liver and the spleen, it basically helps to digest the food by separating the pure part of the food from the impure. Then the kidney, it helps to develop the bodily constituent and also to protect the body from illnesses and also to purify the blood, also strengthen the body and shaping the senses. Likewise, the reproductive organs are to ensure the reproductive and are seen as a treasury. Then the stomach, it receives the food and the drink, and through the action of the heat processes, we call that as the digestive heat. Then through that heat processes, then it takes the further digestion. Then the large intestine and the small intestine, it basically extract the pure part of the nutrient and it transferred to the liver. Then the gallbladder, it assists in the digestive process by adding the digestive heat. Then, so once these processes were fully functions, then we say that whatever we ingested, it has to go in the 7 bodily constituents. So basically, then once the 70 body constituents were processed in a well manner, then we talk about the 3 excretions. So basically, so as far as this topic is concerned, so 3 constitutions, as a normal bodily function. So in these cases, in the correct state of balance of the 3 humors, so which is we call as a Nyepa or Lung, Chiba, and Bakin. So this is often loosely translated as the wind, bile, and flame. So these 3 basic energies, that that is basically, it works as the function in the body, so which performs the normal bodily functions. So each humor is divided into 5 subtypes. So the first one is the lung type. So lung or the wind, normally this energy, so-called the wind. So this is very much common with most of the ancient medical systems, like in Ayurvedic medicine, this is often called as a vata. Then the vata, pitta, and kapha. So 3 dosha. So basically these are 3 humors. Even in Chinese medicine, this is called as a yin, yang, and qi. So basically, the first energy is so-called as the wind energy. So this wind energy, it normally resides in the wrist and the hips, and generally in the lower part of the body. So it is responsible for respiration, movement, excretion, then the clarity of the senses, and also to sustain the body. And also the nature of this wind energy is coarse, light, cold, subtle, hard, and mobile. So it has its own kind of a specific characteristics. So through which it basically, it makes the functions in the body. The pathway of the wind disorders are basically the bone, ear, channel, heart, and the life channel, and the large intestine. So because of that, when there was imbalance was taking place in the wind energy, then basically we see that these are some of these pathways have a lot of problems. Likewise, the second energy is called as the bile energy. So which is called as a tipa. So bile normally it resides around the diaphragm and also generally in the middle part of the body. It is responsible for the feeling of hunger and the thirst, also the digestion and bodily heat, clarity of the complexion, and also the courage and intelligence is also connected with this bile energy. The nature of the bile is oily, sharp, hot, light, malodorous, laxative, and moist. So this is a specific characteristic of the bile energy. The pathways of the bile disorders are blood, sweat, eye, liver, gallbladder, and small intestine. So likewise, the third energy is called as the flame, or it is called as the Bagan energy. So Bagan is normally reside in the brain and generally in the upper part of the body. So it is responsible for the firmness of mind and the body. Also the sleep, also the joint lubrication, patience, and the smoothness of the skin is also connected with this energy. The nature of the flame is oily, cool, heavy, blunt, smooth, firm, steady, and viscous. So the pathway of these flames are chimi, muscle, fats, marrow, bone marrow, reproductive fluids, stool, urine, then the nose, tongue, lung, and also the spleen, stomach, kidney, and the bladder. So this is also connected with the flame energy. So then we talk about so this is basically one of the building block of the Tibetan medicine. So not only the Tibetan medicine, even in most of the Oriental medicine, it speaks the same thing. Likewise, so based on these three constitutional pulses or constitution energies, then we talk about the 10 criteria for treatment in the Tibetan medicine. So when we deals about any kind of problems, so there are 10 conditions that needs to be addressed. So it is best to treat a humor before it has chance to spread to the other locations. So that is a humor is best treated while it is still confined to its natural location. And during the season it is accumulated rather than the season when it was arise, which means that there is a specific season for each of these different energies. So there is a time where these three energies will be accumulated, and there's a time where these energies will be arise. So basically the first energy, the wind energy, so these will basically accumulated in the time, especially in the May and June. May and June is a time where the wind energy is accumulated, and then in the month of July and August, so the wind energy will arise. So through that, especially those who have a problem with the wind energy, so they will have a more problem in that particular in the times of June, July, and August. So we already discussed about the wind in the other webinar like this. So you can you can watch that on the YouTube or in the sources of the Tibet House. Then the second one is the bile energy. So bile energy is basically accumulated in July and August. And then it accumulated and it arises in the September and October. Likewise, the last energy, the flame energy. So this is basically accumulated in the times of January and February, and it arises in the March and April. So when the human is still in the phase of accumulation, it is treated by pacifying mints, without disturbing the other humor. So they are best administered at the time of the day when the corresponding human peaks, such as in the morning for flame, middle for bile, and evening for the wind. So in short, performing diagnosis, especially as a physician, the doctors must bear these 10 points in mind. So the first one is the state of the patient's 7 bodily constituents and the 3 excretions. The second one is the climate where the patient lives. Then the third one is the season when the disease becomes manifest. So there is a specific season where the disease manifests. Then the fourth one is the patient's constitutional types. So there are 3 different types of constitutions. So it could be like an individual constitution of the wind, bile, and flame, or it could be combined of 2, like the wind and bile together. Then it could be combined of all 3. So this has to be, addressed carefully. Then the fifth one is the patient's age. The age also, it matters. So normally the children are considered to be more like the Pekin type or the flame type. Then the adults are considered to be more like the bile. Then when we in old age, so people are considered to be more like the wind type. So because of that, the physicians, they really have to see the age of the patients accordingly. It has to be treated. Then the sixth one is the humor at the origin of the disorder. So when the disease was originated, then one should really have to understood through the interrogation, like which humor at origin was origin of the disorder. Then the location of illnesses. So having said that, each of these different energies have its own kind of pathways. So through that, we should also have to consider the location of illnesses, where the problem is there. Then the eighth one is the state of the patient's energy level and its changes through various circumstances. Then the ninth one is the patient's readiness to make lifestyle and dietary changes towards the betterment of his or her health. So if all these above functions were consistent, then with the one another, then the therapy may applied forcefully. But if they are inconsistent, then the doctor should retain the criteria that provides the clearest indications and process with the treatment in the measured way in proportion to the severity of the disease. Okay, so.
Thank you, Dr. Nyima. I have 2 questions that I think others may also share. Number one is, you spoke about the months. You spoke about, May, June. This is in relation to the months in Nepal, right? With similar climate and environment like Tibet, isn't it? So what is that correct?
Yeah. So
yeah,
it depends actually with the time zone, especially like in some places where there is only one climate. So in that cases, so basically one should also look in a different way. So this is more like a general perspective where, a time zone where they have 5 different types of climates,
Thank you. That's really insightful, because I was thinking about how December is cold in Europe and North America, but it's actually warm in Australia and the other side of the world. So in a way, the Tibetan medicine doctor makes a diagnosis based on the season and time where you're based. Like you've spoken about, where one country only has one climate, or if they have 5 different climates. Thank you for clarifying that. I just wanted to make sure that no one's noting those months down and not considering the time zone and place they are. And the second one, you spoke extensively about this Lung personality, Tripa personality, and Baking personality in your previous webinar. And actually, I found it really fascinating, because you were able to give some detail on what personalities suit certain careers. So that was really interesting. For example, I think you said Tripa personality is more for lawyers, and policemen. And I was actually diagnosed with this. These three personalities are people be a combination.
You might need to repeat that, Tenzin. You're breaking up again. Sorry about that.
No, apologize. Internet. People three personalities can be given and change throughout your life.
I think we missed that. You can try again now. I turned off Genla's camera for a moment.
People have three personalities or the combination and can change over the course of a lifetime.
Yeah, we missed that again. Sorry.
Can people's personality change over the course of their life? And can there be more than one of these personalities?
Perfect. We heard you clear that time.
Okay, yeah. This is a very good question. So, yeah. So normally, so we say that like the kind of a personality. So this is so this basically it won't change. So because this is based on one's own kind of, it's like a genetic, so in the genetic models. So once, like there are, so the personality that was, like inherent personality. So this, it's a little bit difficult to change. So this is also connected with so many phases of, like the phenomena. Especially we say that, when we were born, so especially in Tibetan medicine, when we are talking, we talk about when we talk about the conception of human. So we say that when we talk about the cause of the human conception, we say that this is not only to do with the father's sperm and mother's ovary. So we also talk about the concept of the karma. And also there are so many factors that determine for the conception of the fetus. So because of that, so once, we were born with a certain kind of constitution, then I think this is difficult to change. But again, so once, this is kind of the personality, it's more like a genetic model. But when we talk about the disease, so this basically we talk about the concept of equilibrium. So where we say that, where there is a very, like a big summary in the Tibetan medicine where it says that this human body is composed of 4 elements. And then the so-called disease is also comes from 4 elements. Then even the remedy measures, the treatment is also has to come from 4 elements. So in a sense that, it's all talking about the balancing the 4 elements. So in that cases, we say that, when 4 elements were in balanced state, so we are in a healthy state. So due to the diet, due to the lifestyle, due to the psychological problems, and then, so due to so many other factors, so it somehow causes the imbalance in the elements in a 3 way. The first one is like a distortion in the elements. Then sometimes it's kind of like increase the elements, and sometimes deficit. So because of that, then we say that this is an unhealthy state. So it's all matters of the balancing the elements. So in that concept, so definitely these can be changed. So because even the so-called any kind of disease, so from Tibetan medical perspective, we say that there's always to do with these 3 energies. Even when we talk about the diabetes, for example, so there are 20 diabetes according to Tibetan medicine. So there is a diabetes associated with the wind energy, diabetes associated with the bile energy, diabetes associated with the flame energy. So in that cases, the Tibetan physicians, they really look at the pulse, the urine, and look at the urine, and also use the concept of the introcations. Then in the end of the day, the physician needs to finalize which kind of associated diabetes is that. So in that sense, so when you visit the Tibetan physician, if there are 5 patients who have the same problem of diabetes, if they visit the Tibetan physicians, so the Tibetan physician might give a different medicine to each of these 5 different patients. So that mainly because of the looking at the these 3 different energies. So in that senses, there is a change in the like element. But as far as the the constitutional kind of the the topology or the humor, I think there is no change.
Thank you. That was really fascinating. Thank you.
Okay, now with that, now we came to the main topic of today's discussion. So basically, so here in this particular slide, we are talking about the, according to the Tibetan medical treatise, which is called as the 4 treatises. So of course, there are so many, there are literatures, for especially on the concept of the Tibetan medicine, but the 4 so-called the Gyushi or 4 treatises, which is composed by the Yudok Yunten Gombo, who is considered to be the father of Tibetan medicine. So this is kind of the most comprehensive kind of the text, or the literature for Tibetan medicine. So based on that kind of the literature, so where it says that, especially as far as the, the problem of the genital problem, especially for the male problem. So where it says that, there is a specific chapter for the male problem. As far as the genital problem is concerned, there is a specific, illustrate chapters on male as well as the female. So since today's, the topic is more on the male's, health, so we are talking about the male's problem. So where it says that, as far as the, so we talk about the rosa. Rosa is basically the sexual activities. So in that case, it says that there is a separate chapter about the sexual activities. Then there is a separate, also there are the whole range of medicines and external therapies and so many, treatment measures to, to deal about the, the sexual problems. So in that cases, the term that we use is called Rotsa. So in that cases, it says that, so the so-called the Rotsa is nothing but this is basically the activeness of the sexual activities. And also it says that this is so important because, if the sexual activity is not healthy, so then, this is, kind of the medium through where the human civilization could able to exist. So if there is no if there is a problem with the sexual activities, then somehow there is a decline of the human civilization. So because of that, it considered as the Rosa is very important. So having said that, the the sexual activity, the health of the sexual activity is important. So in that cases, it mentions saying that there is a so we, as far as the sexual activity is concerned, we have the male and the female. So among these 2, according to the Tibetan medicine, it says the male is even more important. So that's why we are focusing on the men's health. So men is more important because it then it says that because then there was one example saying that if there is a man who is surrounded by the 100 women, but if the men's if men cannot really carry out this activity, then even though he is surrounded by 100 the females, the purpose is not served. So because of that, it says that the man is more important. So that's why, especially then it's talking about the the men, especially the quality of the sperm of the man, so this also has been mentioned. Then in that cases, especially this is important because especially for the inception of the baby, so the healthy sperm is also important. So that's why these things have been mentioned there. Then having said that, also it mentions saying that female is also important. The female is considered to be like that of like the farm. If we have a farm, if we have fertile like a farm with the fertile soil, then it can grow. So likewise, the farm should be fertile. Similarly, the females, the uterus should be very clean. Otherwise, there are so many hindrances to become, like the pregnant. So this is basically the, so in a sense that the both the male and females are important, but in especially as far as the activity is concerned, male is more important. So that's why, then to carry about the, to revive the sexual activities, especially in today's time, there are so many problems of erectile dysfunctions and also so many, problems. And because of that, which causes so many social issues. And also like, because of that, it also causes a lot of psychological problems for the male also. Because since I've been, directly, seeing the patients. So time to time, I've been seeing so many patients who have a lot of problems with the ED problem, erectile dysfunction problems, as well as, then also, being a man, if such problem exists, then it really causes so much of the psychological problems also. It really, undermines your own kind of expectations. So because of that, these things were very important. So that's why in Tibetan medicine, it really talk about the whole series of dealing about such kind of problems. So where it's talking about even it says that when the actual activities was carrying on, then it also talk about the importance of the circumstances, importance of the climate, where it says that like the things the place should be very quiet. Place should be like with the place with the so much meteor and also like a pond. So that's why in classical Indian kind of like a style. So when the newly married couples, they used to go for honeymoons. So this is totally designed for such things. So that's why this is important. Then when we talk about the male genital disorders, so there are, of course, there are so many male genital disorders, but in Tibetan medicine, basically it mentioned the 5 different types of male genital disorders. So in that case, the first one is called as the Tenzin, so-called, so this problem is also, connected with the different types of nyapas or different types of energies, or home or humors. So Tenzin that is associated with the lung or the wind, Tenzin that is associated with the bile, Tenzin that is associated with the blood, Tenzin that is associated with the flame, all combined of all 3 humors. So the first one, the Tenzin, the first one is the problem, so the genital problems called as the Tenzin, that when it was predominant or associated with the lung. So in that cases, basically, especially for the male, especially his, the male's genital area. So it's always become erect all the time. So this is really a big problem. And then also on the surface of the male's genital, then one can see that there are a lot of cracks, So this is, we say that this is because of the wind energy associated problem. So based on that, we need to do the treatment. Then there's another kind of a problem of a male genital problem, So this is basically the bile associated problem. So in that cases, one can see that the surface of the men's organ, genital organ, so it become, it become a swollen, and then it's also become a reddish in color. And then also it becomes so hot, like as if it was inflamed. So this is considered as a bile-associated problem of the male genital disorder. Then there was like a blood-associated problems of male genital disorder. So in that cases, one can see that, on the surface of genital organ, so one can see that kind of a black small pox could be, like started popping up. Then along with that, then also have a lot of, discharge with the blood. Then the third one is, flame-associated problem of the male genital disorder. So in that cases, one can see that, the genital area is always become, like itching all the time. And it becomes swollen. And also, he also, like you basically feel there's so much heaviness down there, So this is more like bile-associated problem with the male genital disorder. Then when it was a combine of these three, like energies or these three humors, then basically basically the penis is become swollen. Then one can also see that, along with the infection, one can also see the pus started coming out, So this is more like so-called as the first problem that is called as a suicin. Then the second one is called tumbachen, means kind of a smallpox. So this is the second condition where, the whole organ is become like covered with the kind of a smallpox. So this is the second condition. The third condition is called duda. Basically it's like a tied with so many knots. So in a sense that in this condition, especially the whole surface of the genital, it become like ups and down. So in a sense, then also one can see that kind of eczema, on that various area. This is the third one. Then the fourth one is called as bupchar. Basically, this means like affix spare, where like the whole genital was kind of closed. Then time to time, like even there's a urine obstruction in that case. So this is called the bupchar or affix kind of a spare. Then the last one is called a tamachen. Tamachen basically means like, then there was even though there is nothing on the surface, but the patients, they feel that there was so much unpleasant experience. So as if it was covered with the on of a bale. So likewise, so I've also seen quite many patients who have such kind of sensations. They feel that it was kind of stuck with something. So these are the 5 like specific male genital disorders, especially on the main organ that was mentioned in the Tibetan medicine. Okay, now next one, so what are the main cause of these male genital disorders? So in that cases, it says that so many of these, so these are the 5 kind of common problems. So the main cause of these male genital disorders are basically, the first one is because of too much excessive sexual kind of activities. So sometimes, so there is a certain limits for the sexual activities, but somehow, some people, having too much sexual activity. So this also caused the problem. So then the second one is, like some people, who due to a lack of a hygienic, so then also it causes the problem. Then the third cause of the problem is like, especially when we are passing these 3 ways, excretions. So even when we are having the stool as well as the urine, so this has to go with the call of nature. Sometimes people, when they were too hurried, they try to, like do it so fast, try to press. Or sometimes, try to, when somebody was too busy, then we try to hold that, Then also these are some of the causes of the problem. So in a sense that, in Tibetan medicine, we say that basically as far as the cause of these genital disorders concerned, so it has to be, like go very natural. So this is it's very important. So this is it's a very, summarize kind of the explanation where we talk about the cause of the male genital disorders. So now so these days, especially when we talk about the male's health problem, so especially as far as the man is concerned, especially when when we were cross 50s, so then many people, they started having a lot of problems with the prostate problems in today's time. So like, so the problem of the prostate, the enlargement of the prostate gland. So this is a big problem in everywhere. So basically, in Tibetan medicine, we say that this is also, age, factor is also associated. So having said that, like there is even in the age, like especially after 50s, then the lung energy is more developed in the body. So because of that, you are vulnerable with so many problems, especially one of the obvious problem, the main problem is the prostate enlargement of the prostate gland. So this also, like connected with what we mentioned above, about the cause of the problems, where, where when we were passing the, like these urine or anything, so one should really have to take time, or one shouldn't really hold that, So this is also important. And especially the enlargement of prostate, it's also connected with the with the, the particular, the energy, because when we talk about the, energy, so basically, this is also connected with the cold. So also in these cases, it's more associated with the lung because of the age factor, and also because of, accumulation or increase of too much, the flame, which is basically in terms of the elements, this is more like earth and water elements. So because of that, it also caused the problem. So in that case, so according to the Tibetan medicine, there are so many medicines that can be prescribed, and also there are so many, dietary regimens, that has to be observed. So this is also important. Then the next one, now, so as a, as a human, so there is a like a time that, we were born, and then, like time that needs to be, there's a development time. Then at certain level, then we started decline the, the body. So that's why, when Buddha gave the teaching, so the first teaching of Four Noble Truths, he said that the first one, the first teaching is, he said that everything is momentary in nature, so as far as the phenomena is concerned, everything is momentary in nature. So there is a change, and then in a sense that, even our human, the body, it also needs to be changed. That's why when we become, especially in the old age, so then one started having a lot of decline, so you can see a lot of degenerations, especially you started having the back pain, knee problem. Then when you do the x-ray, then doctors say that, degenerative joints, so this is also the degenerations. So because of that problem, so in Tibetan medicine, we talk about the, the problem of the, the tuning practice. So tuning is basically like, re-energizing the, the the degenerated kind of the body. So in that cases, there is a specific kind of a tuning practice, so we have a medicine, so that you see in the screen, as well as there is a specific way of doing the tuning practice. So where it says that if you do that in a proper way, then this can really prolong the life, and also this can also work as an anti-agent, and also this can also help to improve the immune systems. Through that, the strength can be revived, and also your 5 sense organs can be, can be maintained, and also it can also help for the memory also. Especially, there are so many problems in the old age, like, the Parkinson disease, also, all kind of problems, or Alzheimer problems. So these can be, at certain level. So if you do the children practice, this can be, it can be, stopped. So that's why so there's a specific way of doing that. So we will not go in so much detail. So in that particular, practice of tuning, it says that if one really do that tuning practice, like a minimum of 3 months to 6 months, then this can really, give the result. So this is all about the tuning practice. Then, there are so many supplements that we can use, so the one that you see in the screen, so these are all the children supplements. Like we have the children medicine, and also, as we said, that the rosa, the sexual problems. So for that also, there are so many good medicines in Tibetan medicine, So instead of taking the all these Vigras, so in Tibetan medicine, we have very good medicine like Rosa Yundan Gyaso, Kuyu Deba, Kuyu 28, then Sindhu Nyikil. So these medicines, so it's very good for reviving the Rasa in so many in a more holistic way, because it also strengthens the heat of the kidney, as well as the solving the problem of the internal problems. Likewise, there are so many therapeutic way of doing the the practices. So not only the medicine, also there are a lot of therapeutic ways. Like the first one, the most simplest form of therapy is taking the hot water. So according to Tibetan medicine, it says that the first disease of humankind is the indigestion. Then so especially in the times of Stone Age. So when people they have a lot of problems, especially the metabolism problems. Then once they discovered the fire, then this many of the problems have been solved, because when they started taking the cooked food, then a lot of indigestions can be solved. So because of that, according to Tibetan medicine, it says that the first disease is indigestion, first medicine is hot water. So that's why the hot water is also very useful, special. So likewise, there are so many compressed therapies with the with all form of compressed therapy. Then the moksha therapy, So these has to be done more on individual based treatment. So for that, this is more like education purpose. So if you really wants to do that, so you should really have to see the, Tibetan physician, qualified Tibetan physician. Then he or she will take the pulse, and then accordingly, this has to be done. So in a sense that if you do the then also like other the massage, then the then the golden needle therapy, moksha, cupping, so there are so many ways of doing such things. So in the end, if these has to be properly done, then it says that this can also help to for the for especially for reviving the immune system. Through that, it also helps for the protection of the sperm, as well as it can also pacify the problems. Then also it will strengthen the body, and also especially so these days there are so many problems with erectile dysfunction. So people think that it must have one specific cause. So from the Tibetan medical perspective, we say that one should really have to look from a more holistic view, because there are so many small causes that cause the problem. So that's why it has to be done in a rigorous ways. So likewise, the mental the state of mind is also very important, because especially after once you started across the 60s, then the lung energy is more kind of increased, and then because of that there are so many psychological problems, and because of that also it causes so many problems. And even like not not only in the late like 60s, even like because of sometimes small minor problems. I've seen that so many people who have erectile dysfunctions, then they started having a lot of social issues, because time to time I've came across so many patients, they said that they have a lot of family issues, because of the erectile dysfunction. And also there was I've seen one research where it says that many of the cause of the divorce is because of that problem, erectile dysfunction, because of the the unhealthy kind of the sexual kind of the relationship. So because of that, it causes so many problems. So in a sense that in nutshell, what we say that this is a very serious issue, seemingly something that is not openly discussed, so that's why so with today's kind of discussion, especially since it's the Father's Day, so we are so happy to discuss this very openly, which is often considered as a taboo at a certain point. So with this, I think I came to the end of my explanation. If there is any questions, so we will deal this in the in the coming slide. Okay, Mendola.
Thank you, Dr. Nyima, especially for the point about, the talking therapies and the social impact of some of these medical conditions, the need to speak to somebody. I think men are more hesitant than women to go speak to a trained professional about their thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And Tibetan medicine doctors sometimes are therapists, right? Are therapists and counselors. When we use talking therapies, we also include counselors and psychotherapists. They are a form of therapists that you can speak to, and really just to stress about how the need and the benefit of speaking to a trained professional. It's really just providing a safe space and time to talk to somebody who won't judge you, who may not have a hidden agenda or complications on their own end. And the more you speak to somebody, actually a lot of things start to fall in place, and you start to see real unhelpful and helpful behaviors and patterns. And if you do want to change, they can really equip you and help you make sense of how to deal and cope with some of your issues. And at the end of the day, it helps you understand yourself better. We also wanted to make a secondary important point from this webinar, which is that Tibetan medicine is for prevention, for wellness, as well as for treatment. Before there are issues, sometimes such as talking therapies are good for, your general mental well-being and keeping you in a healthy state of health and being. So we urge you to try Tibetan medicine if you have any of the issues that Dr. Nyima has elaborated on before. But if you're curious or you want to maintain your good health and well-being, please try Tibetan Medicine Doctor and find the nearest Tibetan Medicine Doctor or practitioner in your choice, and try some of these alternative therapies that you may be open to for your own well-being.
Oh, Tenzin, you muted yourself by mistake.
I'm so sorry. I want to say we'll open the floor up for any questions on this Zoom call. But if there's anyone else who's watching this live stream on Facebook or YouTube later, please do reach us on social media for any question that we can connect you to a Tibetan medicine doctor, and we'll come back to you as soon as we can with any questions that we have. But with that, this is a really unique opportunity. Please fire away any questions you may have.
Yeah, we had one that came early from our YouTube audience, from someone named Constitution, and they wanted to know what remedies and external therapies, or what would you recommend for OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder, or any sort of mental afflictions and obstacles along those lines?
Yeah, so this is also a big problem, in today's time. So for that, definitely, there are very good medicines, that can, especially from Tibetan medicine, because as we discussed in the previous, webinar, so Tibetan medicine basically looks in a very holistic way, especially all these, types of problems. So we basically try to balance the first energy, the wind energy, which is considered to be the vehicle of human mind. But this is also important, and at the same time, the how you look at the things is very important, because especially sometimes as the problem is not solved because of our kind of sometimes when we cannot really come out of that shell, so that's why His Holiness the Dalai Lama once said that if you have two types of problem, one a very serious chronic problem, like for example like chronic rheumatoid arthritis, physical problem. On the other hand, there is a very chronic mental problems, like any kind of mental problems, very chronic depression or chronic any kind of problem. He said that among these two problems, the mental chronic problem is much easier in terms of the treatment measures. I think that is very true, because once the if it's physically, if it's very chronic, suppose like the last stage of the cancer, so in such cases sometimes it's very difficult from treatment measures. But on the other hand, if there's a even though it's a chronic mental problem, any kind of mental problem, so because even from the Buddhist, like a psychological perspective, there are so many treatment measures or so many, like mind trainings. Through that also, it really, solve the problem. So for that, one thing that, so for such kind of problem, one should think that, looking from a holistic perspective is very important, because the main teaching of the Buddha's teaching is, giving you the more kind of the holistic idea. So this is which is very scientific also at the same time, because in today's time, even the quantum physicists, they say that in subatomic level, so there is no independent, coherently, like independent entity, in a sense that everything's very relative in nature. So this was, so this is basically the teaching of Buddha. So the Buddhist philosophy and the psychologists were based on that, where it says that everything's interconnected. There is no such thing as independent entity. So in that concept, that is very useful for many of the psychological problems, because, like I often tell this to my patients, because sometimes when you have a very, especially when these, so this kind of problems, so from Buddhist psychology, we says that this is problem of the mental factors. So we talk about the mind and mental factors. So in Buddhism, it says that there's a mind and mental factors. We have 51 different types of mental factors. So mind is very clear, luminous, so even the worst terrorist, his mind is clear. But because of, among these 51 different types of mental factors, there are some mental factors which is, destructive mental factors. Some of them are constructive mental factors, some are neutral. Especially these destructive mental factor, when it pops up, it needs the fixed target to hit you. So in that cases, then if you look from a holistic perspective, then somehow this destructive mental factor will lose the target. So that's why the concept of interdependence, concept of the relative nature is important here. So that's why in today's time there are so many quantum healings, which is based on that concept. So in short, what I'm saying that as a therapy measures, it is important that you should try to widen your perspective. So in the end of the day, it is important that you should count your blessings, not your trouble. So I think that will solve the problem. Thank you.
We have a related question from a dear friend on Facebook, from Matthew. He types, you said solving mental problems is easier than physical problems. How to deal with bipolar disorder for which Western medicine has no cure? Thank you for the question, Matthew.
Yeah. So this is also a very interesting question, So especially the bipolar disorder. So we should, so in one aspect, I think this is not only a mental problem, because this is also a little bit connected with the physical problem also. So because of that, I think it is more complicated. But in a sense that there is, so we shouldn't lose the the courage to solve the problem, because of course when we say that the mental problem is easier, so this is more in a true extreme way, the physical problem, which is very physical, like for example, a very like the last stage of cancer with the a very chronic problem. So in that cases, of course it needs to be the training is more important, so in a so in that cases, so Tibetan medicine looks the any kind of problem with the four kind of the classifications. So where we say that we talk about 404 disorders, as a so in one classification, where it says that there's 101 disorder which is called miscellaneous disorders, like common cold, so where we don't need any medicine. Then there is a 101 disorder, it's called a somatic disease, like for example, problem of the gastritis, problem of the all these problems. So where we need the medicine. Then there is a 101 disorder which is called psychological disorders. So where we more than the medicine, we need the mind training or the counseling is important. Then last one is the 101 disorder, which is considered as a karmic disease. So since Tibetan medicine talk about the concept of law of causality, so we believe in the previous life and next life. So in that case, there is 101 disorder, which is called as a karmic disease. So for that, the treatment measure is more holistic. So medicine, as well as the healing, or the counseling, and also doing a lot of like good deeds. So that's why. So this is more like a practice of dharma practice. So where you will animal sacrificing. So you're buying the fishes from the fish market and letting them free. So these kind of try to accumulate the merits through that also. So especially in the bipolar disorder, I think we should look this in more like for karmic disease also. Then I think it will be more like comprehensive in terms of the treatment measures.
I think the difficulty is without a personalized diagnosis and seeing that individual and their history, it's hard to come up with any recommendations. But are there any, Dr. Nyima, do you have any kind of practical recommendation across for anyone with some of these mental disorders, like the OCD? For example, for panic attack, Dr. Nidula showed me how pressing in a sharp pain, it gets people out of that panic attack. Is there anything on a practical basis? I know you've spoken a little bit about the mind training. I think people are really looking for practical points or practical supplement suggestions. Like for panic attack, Dr. Nidula said Soxin 11 is very effective. Are there any like that for OCD and for bipolar on a very general, just for people to do their research later on?
Yeah. So for a more general perspective, there are so many medicines that especially to balance the first energy, the wind energy or lung energy. So there are so many medicines. So one can use any of these medicine. But in the end of the day, it should be more like personal kind of treatment. So in that case, also so from the Tibetan medical perspective, we should really have to see the where the lung is particularly disturbed. So it may be disturbed in the heart, so this is called as a Nyinglung. So if it disturbed in the life channels, this is called as Soklung. So likewise, so it may be disturbed in so many other areas. So that has to be done. But in a more general perspective, so there are so many lung medicines, so medicines that really balance the wind energy. So this is also can be used, and also there are so many points, like of the wind energy. For example, like the crown chakra, the first, so there are so many points. So these can also be, one can also, use the external therapist, So this
or
is
self-massage
yes.
those points.
Yeah, self-massage and, self-massage is also very effective.
Are there any books that they could look at, read, or explore, or websites which you think they could go on and do their own research on Tibetan medicine? I know there was one on Tibetan medicine and the mind, which I recently read. For the life of me, I can't remember who wrote it. Was it something Diamond? Terry Diamond, was it?
Yeah. Healing. Yeah. So there are so many good books actually. So, there are two books written by Dr. Ishidundan, So there are two books basically, Healing from the Source, and, there are one book is written with Jeffrey Hawkins and other with the, I think Ellen or something, So one can Google it, Dr. Ishidundan. So there are very good books written in a very, like valuable, presentative way. And also, like there was a very good book written by Dr. Nyima on Tibetan medicine, And also recently there was a very good book, written by Dr. Pasayun Arya, So which is very good book. And also there is also a book called Essential of Tibetan Traditional Medicine, written by Tile Gamso and Chris, Hakim. So which is I think published from North Atlantic Books. So this is also a very good book. So likewise, so today, these days it's easy, you can Google Google it with the Tibetan medicine. So you can find so many books.
Now we had a related question from Anthony here on Zoom. And he's asking, are there any Tai Chi or yoga postures to deal with mental issues, or how do you feel about using physical motion practices to deal with mental issues?
Yeah. So this is also a very good question. So, like, so that's why we say that in Tibetan medicine, we talk about the body, speech, and mind, and also we talking about balancing the energy level. So especially the first energy, the wind energy or the lung. So this is in Tibetan, this is called as lung, and also in Chinese, this is called as qi. And when you look at in the Ayurvedic medicine, they call this as a, like a prana, So when you look at, especially when you look at in the ancient Eastern traditions, so you can find that there are so many practices based on the concept of this so-called the wind energy, like in Tibetan, practices. So there are so many different ways of doing the practice, especially the meditators, they try to balance these, the Tsa, Lung, and Tikli, So there are three water energies, which they try to, balance. Then likewise, there are so many of these practices, like the Naropa 6 practice. This is also based on the balancing the breath, Likewise, when you look at Ayurvedic medicine, there are so many yoga asanas. All these asanas, are talking, of course, there is, now that it become more polluted with the, like become more like, like gymnastic. But but actually the real essence is more on the wind, balancing the wind, while one is doing different types of the yoga postures. So likewise in Chinese medicine, so you can see that there was a Tai Chi, Qi Gong, all these Qi. So this is basically balancing the Qi energy. So that's why we said that wind energy is a vehicle of the mind. So once the wind energy is balanced, some directly or indirectly, it also balances somehow it calms down the mind. So that's why, when even, so we are focusing on the Qi energy. So that's why definitely the Qi can be balanced, especially from the Tibetan Buddhist psychology. It says that we have there are so many different classifications of mind. So one classification says that it talks about the 6 different types of mind. So where it says that we have behind our 5 sense organs, like we have eye that we can see, we have nose that we can, smell. So likewise, behind these 5 sense organs, there is so-called sense consciousness or sense mind. So then we use our intelligence, or we use this so-called the conceptual mind, that is 6 mind. So what we say is that, so when we were small, when you look at these children, so children were very innocent, so they don't have barrier among themselves, because they were very innocent. Because why they were innocent is that they were not really using that conceptual mind that much, so they were more on the body sense, or they were using more like the consciousness based behind these sense organs. So that's why among the children it's very innocent, Then once when children will start going to schools, and then when they graduate, then when they become PhD, then they become totally conceptual level. So they can easily be disturbed, and so this also has to do with the way of the modern education system is. I think there's a limitation in the modern education system where you are, everything is so much focused on developing this conceptual mind. So this, the body sense or 5 sense organ and this conceptual mind, there is a relation. When the 5 sense, when this so-called the body sense, when this was decreased, the conceptual mind will increase, That's why then one become very conceptualized. Then when the conceptual mind decrease, then body sense automatically increase. So that's why Tai Chi, Qi Gong, any kind of these body works, it works because when you do these kind of different types of exercise, that it activates the body sense, and because of that, it reduces the conceptual mind. Then through that, it calms down. It helps with the psychological problems. So this is actually from the Buddhist psychological perspective. This is how it works.
Thank you. I was actually off video, so I ran down my bookcase to try to see if I found any of the books that you referred to. Yishi Tonden's Healing from the Source is like a real Bible on Tibetan medicine and a lot on the mental issues. You can do some more research. Dr. Nida Chenatsangla has also extensively written lots of books and has lots of Facebook groups too. So that's a real good source of Tibetan medicine. He runs a lot of online courses if anyone wants to learn more on. I have a few more other recommendations, but I don't have some of these books with me. One was a big blue book on Amazon called Healing Anxiety. It was co-written by both a Tibetan medicine doctor, Tibetan medicine doctor, and also English woman who has a PhD on Tibetan medicine and specifically for healing anxiety and stress. And Terry Diamond, that is the one on, that's like a real translation, isn't it, on Tibetan medicine and all the psychiatric diseases. The two books I was able to find in my bookshelf in time, this one I've started reading, it's Akun Tulku Rinpoche's Taming the Tiger, Tibetan Teachings for Improving Daily Life. And that is has information on the right motivation, on right conduct, a lot of the Buddhist principles that you can use as a guide for some of the healthy mindset and well-being practices. I also got one of my favorite books by His Holiness and Desmond Tutu called The Book of Joy, about being in a state of joyful being. So that's a fantastic book just as a lifestyle read. And I think, Justin, you're showing, Dr. Needler's
yeah, let me unblur my camera. Yeah, this is the one that Dr. Anita did with Robert Thurman doing the foreword. This is Tibetan Book of Health. And we have two more questions. One's a general one and one's about a specific remedy. I'll read the general one, and if you can read the one about the specific remedy, Tenzin La. The first was from Rob, who's here on Zoom with us. He's curious to know, how does a Tibetan doctor work around the limitation of being unable to touch a patient as a diagnostic tool when utilizing digital consultation? So basically the thumbnail is, how do you get around the not being able to touch and physically interact with the patient by using the Medicine Buddha app? Thanks for the question, Rob.
Thanks for the question, Rob. Is that Rob Harrison? I may ask, because he said he would log in, who's used the Medicine Buddha app. And this is the number one question I get for using the Medicine Buddha app, where you can view the profile of a Tibetan medicine doctor and then book a consultation, which is by your local time, convenient for you and the Tibetan medicine doctor. The number one question is, how do you take a pulse reading? So as you know from this webinar, and having spoken and been assured by all the Tibetan medicine doctors on the app and outside the app, they've said pulse reading is just one way of diagnosing a patient per Tibetan medicine. And without it, a doctor can still effectively diagnose and treat you, because they will use other methods of diagnosis, such as observing the patient, looking at the tongue, asking, through interrogation, asking questions, and even looking at urine samples. So this is one of the methods of diagnosis. But what in-person consultations do offer is the additional diagnosis, which is the pulse reading, which we share as a tradition with traditional Chinese medicine. But without it, you'll still be able to effectively meet with a Tibetan medicine doctor and still have a lifestyle and treatment review via the Medicine Buddha app. Dr. Nyimla, would you be able to say a few words about where, if somebody is not able to do a pulse reading via video consultation, can you still have an effective consultation?
Yeah, so basically, if you have the facility, if you have in your own locality, if there's a physician, definitely you have to use all these tools, But I think this is especially for the digital era, So this is also using this app is also very useful, because there are so many people who can't really get such kind of access. So for such people, definitely this is very useful. And also, especially in the Tibetan medicine, so we basically use three basic kind of investigation techniques. That is, the first one is touch. So touch is basically the seeing the pulse. and also, like seeing physically, seeing the problems. And second one is, then the interrogation. So this is also, more important. So in some of the Tibetan, like scholars called Hongrin Yunengyasov, so he mentioned that, among these all kind of, investigation, he said that, one should really have to ask the case history of the patients direct, because the patient is the one who have the direct experience of the problem. So for that, one should really have to ask the patients, because so lately there is a like kind of misconception among the mass. People are thinking that the Tibetan physicians have the special kind of talent that they can see, they can like once they see the pulse, they can understand everything. Of course, there are some physicians who may have that kind of expertise, but generally there are very few who really could able to tell everything, like scan everything with pulse. Of course, majority of the physicians, they can understood these three basic energies. Through that, it really helps to prescribe the medicine and also to diagnose the problem. But sometimes it becomes too extreme. People think that when somebody is a Tibetan physician, then they have to see they become like a magician, seeing the pulse and telling everything. So then there's this notion, it goes on. So I think, so that's why this great scholar called Gongdung Yondengyalzo, he said that he gave the advice to the Tibetan physician, saying that don't be too hurried to hold someone's hand and be like a magician. He said that one should really have asked the question, Lavchu manga neki kialati, one should really don't be too hurried to hold someone's hand and try to exhibit that you are expert. So he said that rather one should really sit down and really study the case properly. And then through that, one should go. So in that sense, through this F, since understanding the problem of the patients will fully be kind of research. So I think this is this is fine, I think.
Thank you, Dr. Nyimla. I wanted to actually highlight a few of these points that you said. One was, to give the patient opportunity to talk, right? Because some of them, there's so many things that are hidden or not in plain sight or not apparent to the patient that you just need the space to talk. And I've spoken before, as a Tibetan medicine doctor is a sort of therapist and counselor, and taking that time, that half an hour or 1 hour consultation as a part of your self-care to see somebody, to talk thoroughly and extensively about all your conditions that are, either a symptom or a condition in itself related to whatever condition you're coming to a Tibetan medicine doctor for. Second, you spoke about the interrogation. I think that's effective, especially for chronic conditions where, the patient's actually the best source of, the source of talking about the source of the condition, how long they've had it, the different symptoms. And finally, I wanted to make the point about Tele Health. And that's where I got the idea about the app, because it's been, Tele Health and using an app for video consultations with doctors is actually so already established all around the world. And the pandemics helped with the uptake because it's the safest way for both doctors and patients to treat, and a very effective way without waiting times and making yourself vulnerable or exposing yourself to any other vulnerabilities. It's a very good way to still connect to a Tibetan medicine doctor or another physician of your choice. So please give it a try, and we're here to help you if we can. Thank you.
Yeah, Tenzin, could you take that one question about the specific remedy? I'll put it in.
I actually, shall I read from the chat? I don't know if everyone's able to see from the chat.
Yeah, if you can read it from the chat, that way the people on the simulcast can see it, can hear it.
That from Izzy. Is that the question?
Yep, that one.
Does Dr. Nyimla, this is one for you. Does Ditsu Rilbu have any medicinal effects that are noteworthy to point out? What exactly are its properties? Ditsu Rilbu Nashi.
Yes. Yeah, definitely, like basically these, the Duji Rilpo and Mani Rilpo, money pills. So these pills are considered to be more like, blessing pills. But definitely these also have a lot of medicinal values also, especially like, Duji Rilpo as well as the Mani Rilpos, in that cases, we use so many substances like we call as 6 excellent substances. So there are, in the formula there are 6 excellent substances, which is very, which is good for the whole, the vital and vessel organs. So because that's why, some people, they say that, when they take the money pills, for example, then they, as among the Tibetans, so they used to say that, when they take the money pills, then they, the common colds or the, some of the major problems can be solved, So that is mainly because of the ingredient, So when you look at the ingredient of these, especially these, blessed pills, they have most of them have the 6 excellent substances, we call as the Sangbotuk, So these are, why these are called as 6 excellent substances, because, so these have the substances which is good for the lungs, substances that are good for the heart. So like, for example, like there is one called Chukang, which is good for the heart, lungs. Also there is a called, like Lishi, or also the Ningshosha, which is good for the heart. So likewise, this also helps to, like to energize the organs as well as the, the the problems also. So that's why definitely these are very useful.
And just to clarify, in terms of Tibetan medicine, there are two. One are, supplements like these, which are, herbal and produced by Tibetan medical clinics. And these are consumed, recommended by the Tibetan medicine doctor, really calibrated for your condition, for your age, for the environment you are. There's a whole host of characteristics that they will calibrate it for you. And even something such as, if somebody has never tried Tibetan medicine, they may prescribe or recommend a lower dosage. And these are the pills that you crush and you consume, and they're herbal in nature. Here at Medicine Buddha, we actually have, as per EU regulation, written the ingredients of each of these supplements, and they don't have any additives. That's why they're quite bitter in taste. But the other types of supplements are, over the counter, produced by Menzi Kang, and this is what we're talking about, the Rinchen Rilpus. And they are, I don't have any with me right now to hold it up. They are available on the shop, on the app, or online, or any of your Tibetan medicine doctors, if you go in person, will be able to procure one for you. But these are in different colors, and they're specific for maybe the lung health, or there's one that's specifically for like respiratory. I know, because my mother would say these are really good when you have cold, etc. So these are called the Rinchen Rilpus, and they're specific package ones. Or then, these are kind of over-the-counter Chulin ones, which Dr. Nyima earlier spoke about, for the regenerative qualities, if that helps. Are there any more?
Yeah, let me double check Facebook and YouTube. I'm not seeing any from our YouTube audience, and our Facebook audience, our community is quiet. So I think that's all the questions we've gotten. If anyone here in Zoom has a last minute question, we're happy to take it before we close things down.
Whilst I'm waiting for a last minute question, I think I might ask Dr. Nyima a question. Is Tibetan medicine Buddhist medicine? Do you have to be Buddhist to benefit from Tibetan medicine?
Not necessarily, because because at my clinic here in Kathmandu, so it was located in the heart of the city. So the 90% of the patients are Hindu, who have any knowledge of the Buddhist thing. So as far as the medicine is concerned, of course, when in terms of the philosophy and the profound nature of profoundness of the medicine, in dealing about the the philosophy. So this is connected with the Buddha's teaching. But as far as the practice is concerned, this is more for all the people, especially in the in the text of the Tibetan medicine, so-called as the four treatises. So in the beginning of the text, it says that this text is very interesting. It's like a Hippocratic kind of like debate. So there is a two like rishis who is discussing. So this is based on the discussion of the two rishis. So in the beginning of that chapter, it says
Two
that
saints.
two sages. So in the beginning it says that when the medicine Buddha is giving that medicine Buddha expounded this teaching. So among the the audience, there are not only the Buddhists. There are Buddhists, like the Vajrapani, and then the Manjushri, but also there are also sages from the audience from the Hindu disciples, the non-sectarian. So in a sense that it's not necessary that it should any belong to any. So this is more for humanity, because as well as we are human, even not only for the human, even there are so many in Tibetan medicine. It also have so many animal medicines also, so for the cows and all kind of things. So in a sense that as far as the medicine is concerned, it's not necessary that they should have any belief.
Thank you. I met Dr. Nidala in Italy recently, and I asked him the stereotype, is Tibetan medicine or Buddhist medicine? And he said, no, it's not. You don't have to be Tibetan. You don't have to be Buddhist to benefit from Tibetan medicine. And he spoke about what you said earlier, that actually Tibetan medicine also helps a lot of animals in, a lot of the farmers and agriculture workers would actually go to Tibetan medicine doctors for these supplements that help their animals as well, because they're all herbal in nature. So that thank you so much for reinforcing that and clarifying that. Thank you. Just scrolling down the chat to just see if there's any last minute questions. Somebody has shared that there were always lines of Indians waiting for Dr. Dundala who were not Buddhists. Indeed, I heard he is so famous, and I heard his son is now running his clinic. And from testimonials of my friends who in Dharamsala have spoken about these queues of people waiting in the lines for these Tibetan medicine doctors. Some of the famous ones, you would have to wake at 5 a.m. just to get a token to be able to see them. And that actually some very entrepreneurial Indian beggars would stand in the queue at 5 a.m. and then sell their position to any other international visitors who didn't wake up at 5 a.m. but could rock up at 8 or 9 and take their place. And that really just shows how many people are seeking treatment in Tibetan medicine. There's actually a very beautiful story, if I could if there's time to share about Tibetan medicine. It's actually very legendary, about an Indian family whose daughter was dying of a terminal disease. I've had this verified, but not the specific details, but that they finally went to a Tibetan medicine doctor at last resort after having exhausted all of the conventional medicine. And he was able to effectively treat this Indian family. And in grateful appreciation, they donated a piece of land to Menzikang in Koromangalam, Bangalore, where they built the Tibetan medicine clinic, because they had the feeling that if Tibetan medicine was able to effectively treat their daughter, they wanted others to benefit from Tibetan medicine. And I just think how generous of them as well, that they, from their experience, they, from their pure heart, they donated a very valuable piece of land for the benefit of others. And I just feel this is a very beautiful karmic story of it just feel very, very heartwarming. And one day I hope to make a little documentary or some clip about it and verify everyone who's involved in it, because that Tibetan medicine clinic still exists in Koromangalam in Bangalore. And I think lots of people should know the origins. And maybe one day I'll be able to actually meet that daughter who benefited from Tibetan medicine. With that, I will close this webinar and thank everyone for zooming in, and particularly to Justin for this brilliant idea the Medicine Buddha Anywhere series, and to Dr. Nyima for all, how generous you are with your expertise and time. This is the second series, and you're so brilliant that I feel like we should do another one called 101 on the mental afflictions, especially with your, not just your clinical Tibetan medicine expertise, but also your Buddhist thought, which, already is a whole universe of academic thought on the nature of the mind. That'll be fascinating. Maybe one to pitch later, but thank you so much, Dr. Nyima. This has been really fascinating, and really thank you for your time and expertise and generosity. Tushana.
Thank you
So
both.
Thank you for having me here.
It's nice having you back a second time. Let's make it a third. We want to thank all the people who signed up in advance via the Teachable. This replay will be placed as a high-definition Vimeo video there, but you'll also have access to all the past sessions all in one place. The viewers on YouTube, the past talk live streams are there on our channel. Facebook, only our first one we were able to simulcast at the same time, but we'll be doing this again hopefully in a month or two, and we want to thank you all for tuning in, and have a happy, wondrous Father's Day. Tashi Delek.